Well, coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about Dave Ramsey. He has certainly become one of the most recognized brands in personal finance, and millions of people have followed his advice out of debt and into more of a savings phase of their life. Fantastic accomplishments when that happens. But should you continue to follow his guidance, especially when he's talking about withdrawing 8% in retirement out of your accounts? We're going to talk a little bit about that, especially for successful pilots. Hey, I know pilots love podcasts, right? And so you've probably listened to some of Dave's stuff at some point in time in your flying career. So should you continue to follow this guidance into retirement and beyond? We're going to talk about that on today's episode. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Pilot's Advisor. Walter Storholt alongside Ryan Fleming, as always, the Pilot's Advisor. And Ryan, looking forward to this conversation today. Have you listened to much Dave Ramsey throughout your life? I feel like it would be hard to be an advisor and in this space and not listen to Dave.
Well, I get to listen to excerpts of Dave all the time when people might send them to me.
Yeah.
My actual digging in on Dave Ramsey was many, many years ago. I can actually specifically remember, I don't know where I was coming from. Maybe I was coming from Oklahoma after one of the many times I was out there learning airdrop school or whatever for the C-17. But I specifically remember listening to Dave Ramsey on I-40 eastbound, where I think I listened to it all the way through and was constantly trying to learn more, get better, different perspective. But I mean, we're talking 2005.
Yeah.
I mean, we're early on listening to Dave's principles. And the thing I like to tell my clients now, I think that Dave Ramsey has a lot of great things that he says. And I think that for the average person, listen to Dave Ramsey, but know that the person that he's talking to is making $70,000 a year, and most of them are in massive credit card debt. So we're talking about not the airline pilots of the world. So I like to think of Dave as, hey, we got our junior high education on how to get out of debt, going to keep it as simple as possible and as basic as possible. But where we're at with airline pilots, we're getting into the graduate level. That's where we want to get. We want to get out of high school. We want to graduate from college and maybe even get our master's degree.
Yeah. Dave has certainly expanded his empire and his brand beyond just the get out of debt world, though. He teaches people how to get out of debt, how to then start being generous, how to give, how to save money for retirement. And there has been a recent article that came out with a recommendation from Dave Ramsey that now even got into the territory of talking about getting into retirement guidance and withdrawal rates being discussed. And so we're going to break down that specific piece of advice that he sort of has dropped recently and break that down on today's show. So let's take a look, Ryan, at what he's actually recommending and what's the reasoning behind it. And then we'll start to zoom out a little bit and figure out why he's recommending this, where it may work, if it could. And I'd be really curious of your opinion to this. But basically, he's recommending an 8% withdrawal rate annually from your retirement accounts, which would be double the conventional guidance, the old 4% rule that we've talked about before, right?
Well, on the surface, I think that that's crazy.
Right. With no other context.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. Now I see why he's saying it. He's saying it that, like, okay, if the S&P is going to give you 10% annualized every single year, then you can draw 8% and you'll be fine. But the math of retirement doesn't work that way at all. I did a whiteboard on this that we'll actually attach in the show notes, but it's the difference between normal math with average rate of returns while you're building your nest egg versus consistency of returns in retirement, because things are totally different once you're pulling income from your portfolio. And the reality is that when the market returns are up and down, the volatility in the market, you don't want to be pulling 8% from your portfolio when your portfolio is down 12%. That math doesn't add up. That math is not good for you. That's a good way to blow up your portfolio. So let's talk about the 4% rule, though, because I think people hear about the 4% rule, but not the average person on the street really understands it. So I think we should just kind of go through that first.
Yeah.
The 4% rule started from academia, places like College of Financial Planning and all these other places that truly study from an academic perspective the markets and retirement planning. Many of the places where we get all the certifications that I have, like the CRPC, the RICP. And the 4% rule dates back to the 90s, and it's looking at a 30-year picture of all the different possibilities of what the market could do. Think of Monte Carlo simulation. Think of 10,000 unique things that the market can do, looking at the positive and the negative. And it's basically saying that you have a 90% chance of not running out of money if you do a 4% safe withdrawal rate, regardless of what the market does. And it's looking at like a 60-40 split. I want to say the creator, I don't even remember, is it William Bengen
Yeah,
or something like
Bengen.
that?
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that guy's even made updates. He's talking 4.6, 4.7, where you have a lot
Right.
of haters that even say, no, the 4% rule won't even work because they start looking at different asset class returns and don't have a lot of confidence that that's going to continue in the market. So lots of
Yeah.
different sides to this. I personally think the 4% rule is a good starting point. I think it's very conservative. And overall, what I would say is I think it's much, much more complicated than just saying 4%. Because when we look at retirement planning, do you have a pension? Do you have a military pension? How much is it out of these accounts that you actually need for income? All of these factor into your decision making. I think that and this is why you look at it not only month by month, but year by year, you're taking different snapshots to see where you're at. I think that the go-go years in retirement versus the no-go years factor into this as well. So
Yeah.
I think Dave Ramsey's crazy with an 8% safe withdrawal rate. I think that 4% is probably a little bit conservative, but I think it's much, much more complicated, and you have to have a retirement specialist, income professional looking at it, helping you through the process, making sure you're drawing from the right accounts and making good decisions based off of actual market conditions at that time. Walter, what do you think about the 8% that Dave's thrown out here?
Yeah, well, I was going to say there was a catch that I didn't give you when we were going through that statement, but I don't think it makes it any better. It feels like it just amplifies the risk even more. And the catch was that, oh, by the way, this 8% withdrawal only works, in his view, if your entire portfolio is invested in stocks. And doesn't that just kind of give you a second heart palpitation after the initial 8% statement of now saying you got to put your entire portfolio to basically double down on that strategy?
Well, I think that really gets into risk tolerance and understanding the markets. I mean, I think that for many, many years, the 60-40 portfolio has been what retirees go to. 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. We need that 60% in equities to help us outpace inflation so we don't run out of money. However, I truly believe that people aren't aggressive enough, whether that's leading up to retirement, whether that's in retirement. I think equities are going to give you the best chance of long-term success. The key is having some sort of system in place for when the market's down and the market's pulled back, where are you going to pull your income from? And I try to teach my clients about this. I call it the retirement jet engine, and we want to have some safe money assets for when this does happen. If you do build something like that out, well, guess what? Then you do have the ability to actually keep the throttles up all in retirement, having a lot more equity positions. So once again, I think there's ways to pull that off, but I think that the way Dave Ramsey's saying it, 100% in equities, let it do its thing, pull 8% every single year. I think that Dave could get himself in a lot of trouble for making those statements if he actually was a fiduciary, which he's not. He's not. He's a marketer.
Yeah, not beholden to really regulators or licenses or anything like that, right? So it's really marketing and entertainment as the primary push, and that's good to remember, as well as, like you said at the very beginning, who his audience is and what his primary advice over the years has been. That's the wheelhouse. And so where you might be as a pilot, planning for retirement with lots saved, hopefully not in a lot of debt, and thinking about all the goals that you have in your retirement years, the advice for you needs to be a lot more specific, a lot more customized to your needs. So I kind of hear what you're saying, Ryan. Your approach is to say, all right, 4% rule, sure, we'll take that as the starting point, just as a place to begin. But depending on your lifestyle and lots of other factors, we may move that up. We may move that down. We may have it be one thing for the first few years and then change it to something else for the later years because of those slow go, no go, go years that you talked about.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we didn't really talk about that we got to throw that in there if we're truly talking about retirement income planning and what actually happens in retirement is talking about sequence of returns risk. I mean, what do those first couple years look like once you finally jump in that retirement income pool? If you jump in the pool and next thing you know, a lot of water is getting drained out because the market's down. Well, that's not good. Or you could have had a couple really, really good years and sitting fat and happy and high on the hog. So sequence of returns risk and how to combat that's a big problem, which I teach my clients how to do that. I come up with systems to help them not be affected by sequence of returns risk. Once again, why you want a professional. But yeah, Dave Ramsey's 100% stock portfolio. And then just drilling 8%. That honestly makes me very nervous, almost sick to my stomach.
Yeah. So we'll give that a big thumbs down. It sounds like on today's show. If we're,
I think so. I think that's kindergarten math with big old fat crayons, and I think Dave's eating a few of those crayons.
Nice. I love that. Hey, I don't think any more needs to be said. That's the perfect wrap up right there.
End it right there.
Well done. Oh, man. If you've got questions, Ryan's there for you. He's got answers. So if you're a pilot, you're trying to plan for retirement, you're trying to save the right way, you're trying to do all of those things that are going to help you accomplish your goals, but you've still got a lot of question marks surrounding your financial plan. You've never really put together that official plan. Now's the time to reach out, have those conversations. Not when you get to retirement. Hopefully you're doing it before then as well. If it's a few years out, now is the right time to make all these plans and decisions ahead of time so that you're going in with that game plan and not just flying blind. The way to set up that time to visit is by getting the retirement toolkit. This is packed with great information that Ryan's put together specifically for pilots. And you're going to be able to get that toolkit. And along with it, you're going to get a free portfolio analysis. And that's where you can meet one-on-one with Ryan. But you got to get the toolkit to unlock that free analysis. So let that be your first step if you're ready to engage and talk a little bit more about your specific situation and get some custom planning in place. Ryan, thanks for all the help today. Enjoyed this conversation with you, and we'll chat again soon.
Sounds good, Walter. You take care.
You as well. That's Ryan and Walter. We'll see you next time right back here on The Pilot's Advisor.
This episode is for educational purposes only and is not individualized investment advice. The Pilot's Advisor LLC is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal.